What's up, Leafs fans, and welcome back to Leafs Digest. Goody. First trade video that you and I get to break down on here. Things are pretty exciting. We started last season. I guess it was with like a couple weeks left in the regular season, and then we rolled right into playoffs. So all the trades had already happened at that point. Foligno was already a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and since then, the only things we've been able to do has been speculation or reacting to rumors or different things that have been floating out there, and nothing had quite come to fruition yet. We hadn't had anything happen that we could jump on here and talk about some of the stuff that had gone down or big trade news. That changes today with our first ever trade reaction, and we get to do a 2-for-1 here. Get two birds stoned at once, as the Trailer Park Boys like to say. We get to do that here, and it's a pretty exciting one. They go hand in hand. They were kind of one happened so that the other one could happen after the fact, and I guess for anyone who's wondering, you're clicking on this channel, I mean, you probably saw the title or the thumbnail already, so you know at least what's going on. But Mark Giordano and Colin Blackwell have been traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs from the Seattle Kraken for a 2022 second-round pick, a 2023 second-round pick, and a 2024 third-round pick. And in the process here, Seattle is retaining half of Mark Giordano's salary, leaving the Toronto Maple Leafs with $1.687 million left that they'll be taking on for Mark Giordano for the rest of the season against the cap here. And then obviously the other move that goes along with this one is Travis Dermott traded to the Vancouver Canucks for a 2022 third-round pick. Goody, we'll obviously get into the Mark Giordano, Colin Blackwell stuff. That is the big story of all of this. But let's start with Travis Dermott moving to the Vancouver Canucks for a third-round pick. I mean, it's not necessarily like we're looking at this going, oh, what's the return? What are we getting back for this guy kind of thing. We are both well aware that this was a move that needed to be made in order for Giordano to be brought into this team. And obviously, Colin Blackwell thrown in, so things needed to work out that way. But Travis Dermott moving on from the Toronto Maple Leafs, immediate reaction to this one.
Feels a little bit overdue, and I love Travis Dermott, but I think that they were looking for a way to make this happen for a while now, and I'm genuinely happy for Travis. He's going to go somewhere else and get a fresh new scenery, a brand new start. These are things that I think will help him out a lot. And Travis Dermott, I've always stood by saying that he doesn't do everything perfect. He often goes a little bit too far outside of his play trying to do things, and that hurts him. But he's legitimately skilled, and at this point, he's got enough NHL games under his belt that he can go help another team. So I'm happy for Travis. I think that reloading the gun a little bit, to say that in terms of picks, that feels good, because even though we're contending, we're going to need these picks, and we're running dry on them. Of course, we offload more of them today to make assets happen now. That's just how contending teams roll. So it's good to see a stock back up on the picks. Well, a single pick in this situation, but still, hey, you get rid of the cap hit, you give a good guy a fresh start, and you also help to offset what you gave up for some really big impact players. So overall, I like the Travis Dermott move. I wish him the best. I've been a Travis Dermott fan from Newmarket, where we are at. Of course, I'm going to have a bit of an affinity for him for that reason, but this was the right move that the Leafs had to move on.
Yeah, as you said, it was something that was, I mean, take the words from you, as like something that was a long time coming here, long overdue. Like, it was going to happen. This Leafs team was looking to move on from it. I guess the right situation hadn't quite come up, and then when you're looking at Jake Muzzin going out with injury, and you got younger guys in Rasmus Sandin and Timothy Liljegren who have the ability to go up and down to the minors for cap purposes, keeping a guy like Travis Dermott around helps the team because he can slide in there. He's played NHL games, he's familiar with it. When guys go down with injuries or guys have to move up and down in the lineup because of cap stuff, you can keep that guy around, put him back in there pretty easily. But ultimately, for a team that's going for a cup run here, we know he's not going to be in the top six. Going out and getting Mark Giordano, the other part of that is that this slides him even lower on the depth chart. He would have, if he remained here, been the 9. Like, you're looking at right now with these guys, Riley, let's just list them. Riley, Lyubushkin, Brody, Giordano, Muzzin, Hall, Sandin, Liljegren. Like, you're sitting at 7 right there. I kind of feel like I might have just missed somebody, but anyways, like, you're sliding these guys down, and then it's just, okay, where are you going to fit in? How are you going to fit into this team? Where do you find a way to make an impact? You don't really. Okay, now it's time to move on. Keep some cap stuff here. It's just not going to work out with him. He has to move on. Ultimately, as you said, getting that third round pick back, I think, is a little bit of a nice touch for it, because the picks, they help, like at least having them. And then the other part of it too is, okay, let's say maybe we don't use that pick. We could turn around and trade that pick away tomorrow. We traded a third round for Mark Giordano. Now you have another asset that you can use in a trade if you're looking for a forward tomorrow. Oh, we have a 2022 third round pick. We can use this. Go and get a guy. It's another asset that's here. And the other thing too, looking at this Leafs management, they've been pretty good at picking guys within the first 4 rounds here. And I know that these guys that I'm about to list weren't picked in the third round, but you look at Matthew Nees, Nick Robertson, like these are guys that were drafted in the second round by the Toronto Maple Leafs, and these are guys who are top end prospects here. You can find guys within there, so getting a third round pick does have value. Now, that trade obviously happens to move on roster spot and cap space. There was, before we can get to the Giordano stuff, because it is very, very important, Kyle Clifford waived. I imagine nobody's really going to claim him. We'll find out tomorrow, most likely, if what teams decide to do with that, but I don't think he's going to get claimed. I think they'll let him slide through. He'll go to the Marlies. That's a cap move. Not as big of news. Nick Robertson sent down, also cap purposes. I think Liljegren might get sent down here, also cap purposes. And then the big move here, Petr Mrazek waived. Now, if he clears waivers, it's a similar Nick Ritchie situation where he still hits against the books. I believe it comes in around 1.12 that the Leafs open up in cap space from him moving down, because I think he still takes up 2.6 something against the Leafs cap as he goes down to the Marlies, just like Nick Ritchie did when he went down, and he still took up a portion of that. But waiving Petr Mrazek, we signed this goaltender out of Finland. I think he's going to be a depth guy. Like he's not really coming in here to be a stud. He's a 32-year-old goalie who won a gold medal this year at the Olympics for Finland. But Petr Mrazek being waived, this is a huge sign of things that are going on here in terms of where they see Petr Mrazek at. Being willing to move this guy or waive this guy like that, it's very telling.
Well, we'll see what happens and whether he goes and clears waivers. I am very curious to see if someone out there is gonna claim him. Mm-hmm. I think that contract looks so bad right now. You might just be able to send him straight to the minors, but ideally you get him fully off the books by having him claimed. And he's got something to offer. I'm not saying he's gonna go in and immediately reward a team, but I'm sure GMs all across the league are taking a reasonable period here to analyze whether or not he would fit on their roster, because Petr Mrazek's been there before. He's been good. Carolina made him look a lot better than I think he is, but it's reasonable to think that he could be completely off the books, which would be really nice. And I got to say, the 32-year-old goaltender we picked up from Europe, I see what the Leafs are doing here. They're rolling the dice. They want to find a guy who can get hot long enough to give them some momentum and maybe even a bit of a crutch in the playoffs, because we're not going to get the storybook goaltender ending. Whatever it is, we're going to need to grind it out, gut it out, try different alternatives. And if he's 32 years old, man, we're not picking him up to develop him. We're picking him up as like an experiment, a project, and a brief project at that. Because if this guy can go in there and stop pucks at a reasonable 900% click, you know what? Maybe he'll mess around and get a few big starts for this Leafs team while he's hot. Again, that seems like a very, very far-fetched situation. But you can see they're loading up on guys that could possibly be the solution. They're willing to try a lot of different people. And I've taken some flack for these takes here. But I do think goaltending, in the larger scheme of things, if your defense is intact, kind of replaceable. You can find a guy that can stop the puck, like I said, 900% on the save percentage, and you're probably going to be all right. He's not going to stop you from winning games. That's what you're destined to do. So Leafs are trying to find that guy, and at least they're kicking a bunch of tires.
Yeah, and I think part of it too, the way I look at this one is it's very similar to the David Riddick acquisition last year, but you didn't have to go and trade to get this. Like, this is a guy that you're bringing in here, you sign. He has to clear some waivers in order to be able to play for the team here, but you sign him $750K, like it's league min. The guy's going to come in, be able to step in here. Maybe, as you're saying, maybe he can get a start and go for a run. You never know. Maybe they want to try him out with Chalgren over the next stretch before Jack Campbell comes back. They obviously don't want to put Petr Mrazek in net by any stretch of the imagination. No. You and I talked about it on the live last night. The second Chalgren got hit in that game, there wasn't a single person, including Petr Mrazek, who wanted to see Petr Mrazek go in that net. So to see these guys go out and get this guy, it's like, okay, you and Chalgren, maybe you go for a ride here and see what we can get out of you guys before Jack Campbell comes back. Maybe it creates some goalie battles where Chalgren and Sateri, that's his name, Sateri. Maybe they can battle each other and then push each other along, and then one of the two of them can take the backup job from with Jack Campbell when he gets back, or maybe they push him out and they take over from him along the way here. It'll be interesting to see how this all breaks out. So,
man, I got to point out, it would be very crazy to, a month, maybe 2 months ago, even like in the beginning of the season, to say at trade deadline, here are the goaltenders you guys are going to be fielding at your 1 and 2. We would be like, man, what is going on? Where's Jack Campbell? What happened to Petr Mrazek? Is Joseph Wall dead? Like, we would just be so confused as to our goaltending situation right now. But surprisingly, having lived through it, I think that, we got some hope here. It's still not a very optimistic situation, but personally, you know what? I think one of these guys is going to step up. And I don't know, Chalgren, even though he lost the other night, he still looks decent to me. So yeah, maybe that tandem will get some minutes. It's mind blowing to think about if you were to tell us this 3 months ago.
Yeah, and by the way, this is happening right now. We're recording this. Nick Paul from the Ottawa Senators has been traded to the Tampa Bay Lightning for Matthew Joseph and a 4th rounder. I mean, we'll talk about the trade that just happened. This is obviously mostly what this video is about. We had to build up to some of it here because of the moves that were made prior to in order for this trade to happen. There are important things leading into this one, determining what the Leafs were able to do in the Petr Mrazek being waived, signing this goaltender, moving Kyle Clifford down, trading away Travis Dermott. These are all key pieces moving into the Giordano and the Blackwell acquisitions here from Seattle. But, I mean, I'm just seeing this live, so I did want to bring it up because I think that this isn't and can't be the end for the Toronto Maple Leafs here. I think that there has to be more acquisitions coming tomorrow on trade deadline day. We are filming this on Sunday night, so this will be out immediately after here. But tomorrow, come trade deadline time, I think there has to be more. You're looking at the Tampa Bay Lightning, who all season long we've looked at and said those guys are contenders over there. They know what they're doing. They're adding all the right pieces. They go and they trade for a couple guys, and next thing you know, they're adding Nick Paul again, to this lineup. It's just they keep adding. Everyone around us is adding. At this point, it has to continue. But let's start with our acquisitions today before we can get ahead of ourselves here. Mark Giordano, Colin Blackwell. We have a whole bunch of stats and stuff and reports that we've read about these guys. Let's just start your immediate gut reaction. You see the Toronto Maple Leafs have officially traded for Mark Giordano. Where were you feeling, or where were you at? How were you feeling when you saw that happen?
They got their guy. Plain and simple, they got their guy. But you know what? There is a part of me that thinks like this wasn't the first option by any means. And it's
Agreed.
just because he's 38 years old. He's about to be a UFA. Gio's best days have been behind him. But with this said, massive upgrade. You fill that void debatably perfectly. And you have Seattle absorbing 50% of his contract. We'll get to Colin Blackwell, but what a sweet little sprinkle in for that deal. Yeah, I just look at a guy like Jacob Chychrun where, he was the top option. That's someone that you could go and have on your franchise for years to come. He could be a career Maple Leaf to say it in some fashion. Not like a Morgan Riley type because he was drafted, but you get what I mean. He's young. He's going to be a stud D guy. Like we sort of wanted that to be the solution, but hey, picking up a Mark Giordano is never a bad solution for your team. And for where we were positionally, we needed to fill out that blue line. And you've mentioned it. I don't want to take the point away from you, but you put this on my radar, and it's so true. During his Norris season, he played with TJ Brodie. Yeah. Man, we are picking up something special here, and I think it's going to fill the void perfectly. I'm really excited. We'll dive into the specifics, but my first reaction was about damn time we did something that's really going to help out. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, last night on the live stream too, I was stressing hard because I was saying like, if we go and get a guy lesser than what Giordano is or what he's going to bring here, I consider this a failure because we can't be adding to the bottom. Because if you're adding to the bottom, you're going to have to push bottom guys up or just push them out of this lineup. And then what are we accomplishing here? Getting a guy like Mark Giordano who can play in the top 4 is going to be something that actually impacts this team and has a positive effect on things moving forward. As you mentioned, there's a bunch of stuff you talked about here that was bang on. I'm just going to kind of list through some of it here. Mark Giordano is 38 years old. UFA at the end of this season. He's already said he wants to play at least one more season after this one, so we know like this isn't the end of his career this season. It's not like a complete I'm out of here after this, but UFA, who knows where he goes. He's 38 years old. He could go anywhere after this. Left-handed defenseman. He's still playing 20 minutes a night out there in Seattle, averaging 21 minutes. He was playing upwards of 25, 26 when he was in Calgary, who was eating up a lot of ice time, and that was only 2 years ago that we're looking at this guy doing that. The other part of this, he plays power play 1. So if he comes here, he could take it from Riley if things aren't going well. But most likely situation is that he might slide into the second power play unit there, maybe take it over from Rasmus Sandin, just being a more veteran guy. And this is something that he does and has been very good at. Or if nothing else, he mentors Rasmus Sandin into that position and helps him. And then he's the third guy. But you have options. You have a lot of versatility here. Now, for me, the biggest piece that I look at here, you said it, he played with TJ Brodie in Calgary. They're both left-handed defensemen, yes, but they played together in Calgary, and guess what? Mark Giordano won the Norris Trophy with TJ Brodie on his right-hand side. And Goody, I looked at it because for some reason I thought it was like maybe 5-6 years ago. It was the 2018-19 season that he won the Norris. Like, it wasn't, we didn't have to turn the clock back way too far to find that Norris Trophy season where you were the literal best defenseman in the NHL at that point. And guess what? He's reuniting with the guy who is alongside of him for that run. So I think there's a lot of comfortability factor here. They know each other well. They played together before. They played really well together before. They're going to be able to go into this one and just transition smoothly into this, knowing what the other person expects, how they go together. And I think, I mean, I'm making the assumption right now as I'm saying this, but I'm going to assume that when he comes here, that's going to be a D pair.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right to assume that. I mean, it would just work out so well on all fronts because, you know, we're still very, very lefty heavy. So if you compare two of them together and make that like not an issue, but actually a benefit because they're used to that, I mean, that just helps out the whole entire structure a ton. So I agree with you. I think that'll be the top pairing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, but I think that that's a really good thing there. This season, he's got 55 games played. He has 6 goals, 17 assists for 23 points on the year. He's putting up almost like a point every other game, essentially, is where he's at. And at 38 years old, I think that's really good. The other part of this is he can come in here and maybe he slides. Maybe he doesn't have to play 21 minutes a night. Maybe he can slide into the 18 or 17 minutes. Takes
I was
a little
actually
bit
going to
less.
say that.
Yeah.
I was going to say that. I said first pairing there, but in reality, I feel like Riley and Lyubushkin will probably play more minutes, but you get what I mean. He's a top 4 defenseman in there with TJ Brodie now. Like, it will be good for the structure of our team. Two lefties that are comfortable playing together. That's a great issue to have.
Yeah, and the other part I look at here is, let's say Sandin and I don't know who the third pair is going to be. Sandin and Muzzin. Let's say that they have themselves, they're having a great night and they're shutting everybody down. You can elevate them. You can play them a couple more minutes, take some minutes away from Giordano, Brodie, take a couple away from Riley. Like, you have the versatility within your 6 now to move guys around, give them more or less minutes as you see fit, because your drop off from 1-2 to 3-4 to 5-6, it's not as drastic as we've seen over the last little while. It's tightened up a little bit here. Adding in Lyubushkin helps that out. Muzzin coming back and playing alongside, and Sandin stepping up and playing a better game. Adding Giordano into that second pair there, like it tightens up a little bit more, which is nice to see, because if you go out there with a sick 1-2 pair and you follow it up with a decent 3-4 and then you're 5-6, you never want to put them on the ice, you're in bad shape. So now I feel like we're much more comfortable seeing a bunch of these guys go out there. But Mark Giordano, to me, I think that this is a perfect addition. You're not looking for a defenseman anymore, and if you are, it's going to be the guy to slide into the 6th spot. And I don't know who that guy would be, because I don't know that there's anybody out there available that would be an upgrade on what we have right now to sit in the 6. Because when you look at Riley, Brodie, they're not coming out of the top 4. Giordano, as we're assuming, he's going to fit in the top 4. Lyubushkin, we've loved him alongside Riley, and we've loved what he's brought. He can play in that top 4 right now, and we've really liked seeing it and seeing that chemistry build between him and Riley. I wouldn't move him around, so ultimately you are looking at 5-6 if you're going to go get anybody. I just don't know who that guy is or why you would do so when you're looking at going, how much are you going to improve over what we have here? So we'll see how things go.
There's long-term concerns about Muzzin, but I think that Muzzin should be good to come back, but that would be the only driving force for another blue line trade, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay, Colin Blackwell, let's get to that. Goody, before I say anything here, I'm just going to give you the floor because you and I had a conversation earlier today. I'm going to let you explain what happened.
All right, man. So earlier today, Zack gives me a call that the trade has gone through. Of course, the details took, couple, maybe even 3 hours to come out to exactly what was being dealt. But amid the wait to find out the details, I was talking to Zack and I was like, maybe one of the reasons this is taking a moment here is there's a guy who's going to get thrown in as sort of like an unsung hero sweetener in the trade. Maybe we're waiting on hearing who that is. And then immediately Zack was like, you know what, man, I think that's pretty possible. Let's hold on and see. And lo and behold, we do also have the compliment in this trade package of Colin Blackwell, who I really like. And I've this is one of those interesting situations where he's not a special player, right? Like 39 games played, 8 goals, 4 assists, 17 points plus 1. He's obviously solid. But this is a guy who stuck out to me because of his Spitting Chicklets interview. Going to be completely honest. He was hilarious. And I had to look him up after to figure out how good he was. And I watched him with the Rangers that season. I was like, yo, he's a firecracker. I actually like this kid a lot. He's got character. He's undersized. He feels like sort of a poor man's Hagel in a weird way. But I think that even in the playoffs, you get this guy playing at the right time, he could put up the same numbers as Hagel. So this was... I said some pretty weird stuff about when Ilya Lyubushkin came here, about him looking better some nights than some of our top guys. I think Colin Blackwell might steal the trade spotlight away from Gio at certain times this postseason. I could see him scoring a big goal, making a big, drawing a big penalty, something that's going to put us over the top in the playoffs. I'm so happy we have Colin Blackwell. This was the perfect, get 2 birds stoned at once, Phil, to quote the Trailer Park Boys. We figured out to get a guy in the top 6. At least that has that upside, and we fixed the blue line, and we only gave up picks, no first rounder involved.
No prospects. Matthew Nyes staying here in Toronto.
Run Dubas his respect.
Yeah, so Colin Blackwell, he's $725K AAV on the salary cap. He's 28 years old. He's right-handed center/winger. 5'9", 190 pounds. He's not gonna blow you away by any stretch of the imagination on his size or his stature. And you said the stats. I'm not gonna repeat them there. But one thing that I looked at here, and I mean, my perspective on it, I think maybe this got added in a little bit later. Maybe it was something they talked about already, but it was, okay, yeah, this needs to happen now, was after seeing the Kasha situation last night. Because Colin Blackwell, let's be realistic, he's not playing in the top 6. He's going to be a bottom 6 guy in the lines 3-4. You're going to have to maneuver some pieces around. We likely think that third line is going to stick together. I wouldn't move them apart, Mikheyev, Kampf, and Engvall. So now you have to find a guy who's going to play up in the top 6 with Willie and Tavares. So you got moving pieces there. But now you throw this guy into the 4th line. He's going to be a very, very nice addition to that 4th line. And one thing that I look at here when we're talking about these things, there was a writer at The Athletic. They were talking about Colin Blackwell, and they said Blackwell works really hard, can actually keep up and complement high-end talent, brings solid two-way play wherever he slots, and is also a strong penalty killer. They also wrote that Blackwell could be the next Barclay Goodrow type acquisition. And when I read that, I mean, you were high on him beforehand. When you and I talked earlier today, after we found out that he was involved in this one, you were really excited about it because of his possibility, or the prospect of him adding to this 4th line, being able to step up here and be a really, really good role guy that you can kind of count on to be there. He can play with a little bit of grit, some physicality. He can put the puck in the net. Like, there was all these aspects to it. And then I read this article saying maybe the next Barclay Goodrow type player. I don't know that he's exactly Barclay Goodrow, but when I read that, I thought, okay, this is what Tampa kind of went out and did when they added that piece. This is a better acquisition than when Lou Lamoriello went out and got Thomas Plekanec to be a depth guy on 100%. The Leafs team, right? Like, this is an actual impactful guy that, no, his stats are not going to blow you away. But a lot of it is going to be the intangibles. A lot of it is just going to be what he can do as a player with the blocking shots, throwing hits, being consistent, being trustworthy, being reliable. I think he brings a lot there, and I'm excited about this acquisition.
I remember when he got taken in the expansion draft, I remember thinking to myself, well, if they go up the Blackwell dude, like, he actually might be kind of worth it for the Kraken. He's not Jarrett McCann, but I'll take it. I think this guy, he's going to surprise some people, or maybe not. Maybe most people feel like I do, and they think Colin Blackwell is going to be a firecracker and have some special moments. I don't know, but I'm telling you, I think it's on its way. And I think I'm a little too juiced up about Blackwell being on the Leafs now versus it being about Gio. Either way, man, we filled 2 gaps on our team pretty well today.
Okay, and the last thing I want to say here, I think we covered this stuff pretty well, gave our opinions on it, or at least our reactions. With Tampa, I was alluding to it a little bit earlier, with Tampa going out and getting Nick Paul here, making that trade, we're seeing Florida adding guys. They added another defenseman in Hague. They've added Sherrod. They added Giroux. Colorado talked about how they added Manson, they added Sturm. Like, I don't think they're done. I think they're going to be active tomorrow as well. Now Tampa adding pieces, Boston adding pieces. Toronto goes out there, they get their guy in the defenseman. They get their guy.
Yeah.
They add Colin Blackwell to be a depth forward here. We've made some moves around the goaltending situation. I think that they're at least somewhat in line with you in terms of, okay, maybe our goalie could get hot and we go on a run with him. I highly, 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 highly doubt we trade for a goaltender tomorrow. Like, I would legitimately put it at maybe a 0.5% chance that there's a goalie coming to Toronto tomorrow. But honestly, I would almost even just put it at a flat 0, but I think that there's always just a chance. So I'll leave it at 0.5% of a chance. But are the Toronto Maple Leafs done? And if they are, how do you feel about this team going forward right now?
That's a great question. I was thinking about that before the podcast. I think that, yeah, you are okay with it. You went out there. To be honest, me and you were saying, we think that nothing really needs to be added at this point on the blue line, assuming that Muzzin will come back healthy and somewhat a version of himself. Yeah. At this point, you're committed there. Like, Muzzin will, if he's coming back, he'll be coming back to the Leafs and things will be what they are at the time. I don't think I would add anything to that blue line right now at all. So right now, I like the blue line, and that was, in my opinion, the biggest issue on the team. And then you got Colin Blackwell, who I know you're saying you don't think he could play on the second line. I think it's so unlikely, but who knows? Like, JT and William Nylander, like, those guys are way too skilled to act like they need another like goal scorer on the line.
Yeah,
if they can have a guy who's just straight lightning the whole time, like trying to blow people up, trying to feed it in front of the net, just being responsible defensively. Like, I don't know. I guess you'd end up with two right-handed wingers there surrounding JT. So I don't even know if that's feasible. Yeah. But it's interesting food for thought here that this guy could end up playing a big role in our lineup. So I don't know. I think that right now you would live with it. Ideally, you add a big power forward, because right now I am a little concerned about our size. Blackwell's 5'9". We don't really have a lot of guys who are going to be ringing the bell. Man, look at a player like Jeannot. I love Jeannot. He might have given it to us the other night, but that just hammers home, man. Get a power forward on your team. They are a luxury right now in the NHL. If you don't get that, it is what it is. I am pretty comfortable with our team, but I think that's the one thing that would put us over the top a little bit, as a physical top 6 player. But those do not grow on trees, man. They do not.
Okay, so what I will say is I think that this team isn't going to be overly antsy to make a move tomorrow, if that's the right way to put it, in terms of, I don't think that they feel the pressure of, we have to go out and get this major player or something like that. But my honest thoughts on it is I think we should. I'm watching these other teams around us fill up with big players and adding all these different style players that add to their games. Like, you look at Florida, they are already a very physical, heavy team with what they have built there. Then they have superstar offensive players in guys like Huberdeau and Barkov. Well, you go and you add a Claude Giroux, and now you just adding to skill, because they didn't need physicality. They've got it. They've got that physicality. Sam Bennett, Griffin Reinhart, Mason Marchment. Like, they have these guys there who play that way. I believe Hornquist is still there. Like, they have guys who do these different things. Colorado, they already are heavier, bigger team. Their stars play with some of that grit, physicality. Then you add, like, they're not looking for skill, but they go out and get Sturm, who can kind of be a mix of both of that. Like, there's just, everyone is building these teams in different ways. Boston doesn't need to go and get anybody in that way, because they've got their skill guys. They've got their Taylor Halls, Pasternak, and then they have their grit. And I mean, I'll give credit to Bergeron and Marchand. Like, those guys, when it comes to playoff time, they play playoff hockey. So the Leafs, to me, need that big power forward to fit into the top 6, to elevate the style, the versatility that is in this team. You look at that first line, we love them. Don't change it. Don't touch it. I think that they are set up way better this year for the playoffs than they have been in years past. I think bunting in a lot of ways really helps that. And honestly, I mean, maybe this is just an insane thing to say, but I think bunting, you know how when you see like really exceptional players and they say they make the people around them better, and then everyone around is like, okay, I want to do this, I want to try that, I need to work harder to be like this guy or to support this guy because he cares so much about winning. I think that bunting on that line, the way that he plays, almost in a way, and this is pure speculation, but almost in a way is almost like to Matthews and Marner. They're like, okay, like it's kind of fun to play with a little bit of this jam and to hit guys and just steal pucks all the time. Like you watch Michael Bunting just smash into a guy in the boards. He's running 1,000,000 miles per hour. Not even like there's no technique. He's just running into a guy and he comes away with the puck. And I feel like these guys, it's almost just like, all right, well, I'm still going to score 60 goals this year and I'm going to get 30 and 110 points. And it's like, if I can bang into a guy every now and then and steal the puck and we'll have some fun, like, why not? So they just bring each other into that like groove there. But I think like going down in the lineup, the biggest hole that we look at, because I think that Colin Blackwell shores up that fourth line a lot. He helps them out. The biggest hole is sitting on that left wing on the second line. And to me, you have to go out there and get a big name guy. I don't know who it is right now. I still think Rickard Rakell should be a guy that we would target, but it's got to be like a big guy who can make an impact here.
You know what? If we're looking for a left winger who can play in the top 6 with some size, let's go get Nick Ritchie. Why not? This seems like it works on paper, right? Yeah, we tried that one out. But okay, so if someone puts the price tag of a first round pick on like a Josh Anderson type player, at that point, is it worth? Yeah.
Done. He's got term too.
About, yeah, okay, that's a good point. I would imagine, man, sending that kind of guy to a division rival, a historical rival.
Oh, it would be the fattest trade. Oh my God.
It would be tough to pull off, man. But we did talk about Matthew Knees or Nyes. Man, I'm just gonna keep mistaking it.
Someone
until I get
DM'd
it right
me
here.
last night after the live stream and was like, "Hey man, it's Nyes." And I was like, "Oh, sorry,
Nyes?
thank you." Yeah,
that's
Nyes.
right. That's right. We made the Toronto joke about Nyes and your beak. But we had some speculation that maybe he fits into the lineup in like this weird Cinderella story because his team's done after yesterday, correct?
I didn't check that. I think you're right though. I did.
Yeah, I think so too. So he's available now, I believe. So who knows what the Leafs do there? I'm sure they'll make a big evaluation after trade deadline. Just do a little bit of a roll count within the organization, and if they still think that there could be a chance that works out, I mean, give the kid a chance. We'll see. We brought up Cale Makar and how crazy he went when he got pulled up for a playoff run with Colorado. Not saying this guy's Cale Makar, but he's gotten a lot of hype right now. I'm sure he could fill a role for us.
Yeah. Well, there you have it, Leafs fans. The Toronto Maple Leafs trade away Travis Dermott for a third-round pick. They acquire Mark Giordano and Colin Blackwell from the Seattle Kraken for a 2022 second-round pick, a 2023 second-round pick, and a 2024 third-round pick. The Seattle Kraken retain half of Mark Giordano's salary, leaving the Leafs with 1.687 left of Giordano's. He is a UFA at the end of the season. So is Colin Blackwell. Actually, we didn't mention that off the rip. And then the Toronto Maple Leafs waive Petr Mrazek, Kyle Clifford, send down Nick Robertson to the Marlies. I think Liljegren will be coming with that. I mean, he doesn't have to do anything. Like, he can just get sent down, called back up. It's not a problem. But for cap purposes, we'll probably see that happen. But we will see you guys tomorrow after the trade deadline. I can't wait to see some trades. Let us know what you guys think the Leafs should be doing moving forward here. We look forward to seeing it all. But we will see you guys tomorrow. Keep believing.
Signing off.